I am unable to provide meaningful input without the job description. It is necessary to have the job description to effectively compare it to the existing notes and the specifications detailed in the drawing. A comprehensive understanding of the job requirements, scope, and any specific instructions is crucial for identifying potential code issues or discrepancies. This includes aspects like the type of electrical system involved, the voltage levels, the anticipated load calculations, the applicable electrical codes and standards, and any specific requirements outlined by the client or regulatory bodies. Without this foundational information, any attempt to offer advice would be speculative and potentially misleading. With the job description, it would be possible to analyze the project in detail, checking for compliance with relevant sections of the National Electrical Code, such as Article 210. For branch circuits, Article 220. For load calculations, Article 230. For services, Article 250. For grounding and bonding, Article 300. For wiring methods, Article 310. For conductors for general wiring, Article 400. For flexible cords and cables, Article 408. For switchboards and panel boards, Article 430. For motors, Article 440. For air conditioning and refrigeration equipment, Article 450. For transformers, Article 500 through 516. For hazardous locations, Article 517. For healthcare facilities, Article 600. For electric signs and outline lighting, Article 625. For electric vehicle charging systems, Article 680. For swimming pools, fountains, and similar installations, Article 690. For solar photovoltaic systems, Article 700. For emergency systems, Article 701. For legally required standby systems, Article 702. For optional standby systems, and Article 705. For interconnected electric power production sources. The comparison would also involve verifying that the materials specified meet the required standards for safety and performance, that the installation methods comply with best practices and code requirements, and that the overall design aligns with the project objectives and applicable regulations. The review process includes examining the single-line diagrams, panel schedules, equipment specifications, and other relevant documentation to ensure that all aspects of the electrical system are properly coordinated and integrated. Furthermore, it is important to consider the potential for future expansion or modifications to the electrical system and to ensure that the design allows for flexibility and scalability. For example, consider a scenario where a commercial building is being renovated to include new office spaces. Without the job description, one cannot determine the specific requirements for the electrical system in these new spaces, such as the number of outlets, the lighting levels, the power requirements for equipment, and any special considerations for data and communication cabling. Without this information, it is impossible to assess whether the existing electrical system has sufficient capacity to support the new load, whether additional circuits or panels are needed, and whether any upgrades to the service entrance are required. The job description should also include details about any specific equipment or systems that will be used in the new spaces, such as computers, printers, servers, HVAC systems, and other appliances. This information is essential for calculating the total load on the electrical system and for selecting the appropriate conductors, overcurrent protection devices, and other components. In addition, the job description should specify any special requirements for the electrical installation, such as the use of surge protection devices, emergency power systems, or uninterruptible power supplies. These requirements may be necessary to protect sensitive electronic equipment or to ensure the continuity of critical operations in the event of a power outage. Another crucial aspect of the job description is the identification of any potential hazards or safety concerns associated with the electrical work. This may include working in confined spaces, working at heights, working with energized equipment, or dealing with hazardous materials. It is essential to implement appropriate safety precautions and procedures to minimize the risk of accidents or injuries. The job description should also outline the qualifications and training requirements for the electrical workers who will be performing the work. This ensures that the workers have the necessary skills and knowledge to perform the work safely and effectively. Moreover, it is essential to verify that the workers are licensed and insured in accordance with applicable regulations. In addition to technical aspects, the job description should also address any administrative or contractual requirements associated with the project. This may include obtaining permits, coordinating with other trades, managing subcontractors, and adhering to project schedules and budgets. It is crucial to establish clear lines of communication and accountability to ensure that the project is completed smoothly and efficiently. The job description should also specify the inspection and testing procedures that will be used to verify that the electrical installation meets the required standards. This may include visual inspections, continuity tests, installation resistance tests, ground impedance tests, and other tests to ensure that the electrical system is safe and reliable. It is essential to document all inspection and testing results and to address any deficiencies or discrepancies promptly. Without the job description, it is impossible to assess the completeness and accuracy of the electrical drawings and specifications. The drawings should accurately depict the layout of the electrical system, including the location of outlets, switches, lighting fixtures, panels, and other equipment. The specification should provide detailed information about the materials, components, and installation methods that will be used in the project. Any discrepancies or omissions in the drawings or specifications can lead to errors, delays, and cost overruns. Therefore, it is essential to review these documents carefully and to address any questions or concerns with the project team. Furthermore, the job description should specify the applicable codes and standards that must be followed during the electrical installation. This may include the National Electrical Code, state and local building codes, and other industry standards. It is essential to be familiar with these codes and standards and to ensure that the electrical installation complies with all applicable requirements. The job description should also address any environmental considerations associated with the electrical work. This may include minimizing waste, using energy-efficient equipment, and complying with environmental regulations. It is essential to implement sustainable practices to reduce the environmental impact of the electrical installation. Consider a scenario where the job description involves installing a new electrical service for a data center. The data center will house hundreds of servers and other electronic equipment, which will require a significant amount of power. Without the job description, one cannot determine the specific power requirements for the data center, the voltage levels, the grounding and bonding requirements, and any special considerations for cooling and ventilation. This information is crucial for designing an electrical system that can reliably and safely power the data center. The job description should also specify the backup power systems that will be used to ensure the continuity of operations in the event of a power outage. This may include generators, uninterruptible power supplies, and automatic transfer switches. It is essential to select backup power systems that can meet the specific needs of the data center and that comply with applicable codes and standards. Furthermore, the job description should address the security considerations associated with the electrical system. This may include restricting access to electrical panels and equipment, installing surveillance cameras, and implementing cybersecurity measures to protect the data center from cyber attacks. It is essential to implement robust security measures to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data center's information and systems. In addition to the technical aspects, the job description should also address any communication and coordination requirements associated with the project. This may include attending project meetings, providing regular updates to the project team, and coordinating with other trades. It is essential to establish clear lines of communication and accountability to ensure that the project is completed smoothly and efficiently. The job description should also specify the documentation requirements for the electrical installation. This may include providing as-built drawings, test reports, and operation and maintenance manuals. It is essential to maintain accurate and complete documentation to facilitate future maintenance, repairs, and upgrades. Without the job description, it is impossible to assess the overall feasibility and viability of the electrical project. The job description should provide sufficient information to determine whether the project is technically feasible, economically viable, and environmentally sustainable. It is essential to conduct a thorough feasibility study before proceeding with the project to identify any potential risks or challenges and to develop strategies to mitigate them. The job description should also address any regulatory requirements associated with the electrical project. This may include obtaining permits from local authorities, complying with building codes, and meeting environmental regulations. It is essential to comply with all applicable regulations to avoid penalties or legal liabilities. Without the job description, it is impossible to provide informed and accurate advice. The job description is the foundation for understanding the scope, requirements, and constraints of the electrical project. Therefore, it is essential to provide the job description to receive meaningful and helpful input. The review cannot proceed without a clearly defined scope. The scope would include documentation such as panel schedules, online diagrams, and the layout of the building.